Welcome everyone, this is Andres Restart, and this is our weekly podcast. I am joined by Brandon from What About Nintendo and Will from Little Will the Deity. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing great. I was playing Link to the Past today. It was awesome. I did a new series called Coffee Talk. You guys on my channel know what that is. And I went out for a run, so very productive day today.
Cool. Yeah. So, Will, how about you?
Well, I've honestly been playing a lot of video games. I haven't gotten around to beating Bayonetta 2, so I was playing that basically all day today. But I also got into the Yakuza series, which it's like pretty notorious for having like a mind-blowing amount of content. Just like the story alone, like it's not even 25% of the game. And I've already spent a really long time in it, and I actually forgot to save at one point. So I'm really yeah. But other than that, I typed an article, made a video on Sega Ages, and I'm hoping to get a review code for Nino Kuni 2.
Ooh. Yeah, that sounds awesome. That sounds like you've been busy, man.
Yeah, I've been pretty productive as well.
That is good news. Productivity. It is very, very good. So I'm just going to give a quick shout out to everyone in the chat. What's up, Vooper? What's up, Sabbath? What's up, Vegeta? What's up, Kevin? How are you guys doing? Final Fantasy VII Remake never releasing. Hello.
Oh, too true.
Well, we'll see what happens.
Like
we will see what happens. So let's get into the topics, because I should have introduced that first. But, so this is what we're talking about today, alright? Obviously, the main topic, we're going to be talking about the most powerful Nintendo characters, but that's the main topic, and that will be entering that about halfway to the discussion, so I would say in about 40 minutes or so. So for those of you who are watching this later on, just keep that in mind. I do have a little bit of an outline, so you can kind of gauge when we're going to be talking about that topic. But first off, we're going to be talking about Sega Ages, and we're going to be talking a little bit about Shenmue, and then we'll be talking about this touchscreen patent or a series of like images that have come out that are indicating maybe Nintendo's working on a new handheld or something like that. And we're also going to be getting a little bit into some Pokemon rumors and some information that has come out over the weekend, and just give our thoughts on that, and then we'll be going into the main topic for the day. So the outline's not as long this time, but I think each topic is very interesting, so yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. So yeah, Will, I know you made a video on the Sega Ages recently, so how about you take the floor and just tell us what you think about this whole thing. Introduce us to this topic.
Okay, Kevin actually brings up something that's a little concerning. He says he has trouble hearing me, or he or she has trouble hearing me, so
yeah,
I'm wondering how bad of a problem that is, but I'll go ahead and do it anyway.
The audio? I could probably adjust that. Yeah, just give me a second. Let me see. Is it the background music that's too loud? Is it either the voices? Because I can probably increase the audio for that as well.
Yeah. Kevin may just have his... I don't know. Some people hear him just fine, so maybe that Kevin has his...
Yeah, I just checked. I think I'm fine. Yeah, I think I'm fine. Okay, so
right.
Sega Ages, what I basically coined in my video as Sega's Virtual Console, but it has a lot more history than a Virtual Console, but for the sake of better consumption by, I think, Nintendo fans, I coined it as Sega's Virtual Console. And right now, they only have Genesis games lined up for it, which is basically their first system. And they just recently announced that they're open to the idea of Dreamcast and Saturn games on the Nintendo Switch. So...
Well, I made sure to make sure the audio was good. So, like, Will, like, when you heard about Sega Ages, what was your, like, immediate reaction?
Well, I heard that it was coming to mobile. Like, it came to mobile last year. So I already knew it was a thing. And then, like, right after it came to mobile last year, they said something about it coming to Switch. And I, like, immediately dismissed it. I was like, it's never ever coming to Switch. But now it's here. And you guys know, like, on a couple of podcasts, I've been saying stuff like, "Oh, this is never going to happen," but I want Dreamcast Virtual Console, and now Sega drops this bomb, and I'm super hyped about it. I made a whole video about it immediately, and I released it that day and everything. I was working on that video the whole day. It's super hype for me.
Like, so, no, Brandon, you go first. I talked to
I was just gonna say, yeah, I remember you talking about wanting Dreamcast Virtual Console. I think even when we were doing like the, like we were joking about like PS4 Virtual Console and stuff, and you were like, oh, Dreamcast Virtual Console. I was like, it's not gonna happen. And then it was just like happened, and it may happen, which I think is pretty likely. I don't think Sega's like, oh, they're all like, oh, it might happen, but it's probably gonna happen. Like I think it just is. So I've never played the Dreamcast, but I've heard really good things about it. I actually heard it was a pretty good system, and it's really unfortunate that Sega went out of the console market because they actually made pretty good systems. Also, their business choices themselves weren't that great, but a lot of their systems they made were actually really good. So I'd be interested to try out the games because I hear that they're actually really good, and I've never played any of them before. So I'm excited. So I really hope this happens, and I think it's pretty much going to happen. I just think it's pretty likely.
No, it's interesting, Brandon, you mentioned how Sega was with their hardware. Like, yeah, they had some really poor business practices that went on for over 10 years. It kind of led to their demise or, their downscaling, right? But, like, what they did for the industry was very awesome. Like, they tried to innovate. They tried to innovate. Like, unlike Sony and Microsoft, I mean, they sort of innovate, but, like, in comparison to Nintendo, like, they're not even close in terms of trying new things and being different. Sega, on the other hand, was a little bit more comparable. Like, they tried new things, like actually like trying to incorporate competitive online multiplayer. That was something that Sega was really pushing. Like, I remember the VMU for the Sega Dreamcast, like it was kind of like a sort of like a little buddy apparatus that also hooked into your controller that offered more interactivity with your games. Like, they tried things, and like they definitely tried to push the boundaries with their systems. So it's unfortunate that they took a different road, but the Sega Dreamcast and their other systems definitely did some special things. So, and they've made great games in the past. So the ability to play these games on the Nintendo Switch in the future is gonna be really cool. But Will, correct me if I'm wrong, right? But I'm pretty sure I heard that they plan to it seems like they're more focusing on more of like the older games, like maybe like Genesis, 32X, those kind of games, right? The Master System. And they said they're open to bringing Saturn and Dreamcast games, and those may come later down the road.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, I mean, it basically sounds like Nintendo's Virtual Console. Like, normally they start off with NES and SNES games, and then eventually they start pouring in the N64 games. We still haven't gotten into GameCube, but, the dream, right? The dream is that we will actually get GameCube Virtual Console. Maybe, but we may be getting Dreamcast Virtual Console before we see GameCube Virtual Console. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I commented in Will's video. I was like, Sega doing what Nintendo don't over here with Virtual Console. I don't know what Nintendo's thinking. I assume they're waiting for like their online, and they're gonna launch it alongside that. I think they'll probably, in my opinion, I think Nintendo will have like a kind of a Netflix-y service for it and a standard way to buy it, like kind of maybe like a Game Pass kind of thing, but for like Virtual Console. But you can also just buy them separately if you want. So I think it's gonna be cool. I think we're gonna get virtual GameCube Virtual Console. I was actually talking to this with people while I was doing my stream. I definitely think like the NVIDIA Shield getting like GameCube and Wii games in 1080p was definitely like a test run for Nintendo to see how they would run, because it's the same hardware as the Switch. So I definitely think they're working on their own in-house emulator, kind of like the Dolphin, where it upscales everything to 1080p. So Sega doing it, Nintendo now, but I think later they'll get on that.
Yeah. The one thing I don't like about this whole debacle is like Sega is doing the typical thing where they say, hey, just make some noise and we might bring it, even though like it's inevitable that it'll come. Like that might be the one thing I don't like about this whole thing. But other than that, and I pinned that comment because it pretty much summed up my whole feelings. I was like, Nintendo, you have no excuse. But yeah.
Yeah.
On the head. It was hilarious.
Now, I've actually heard an interesting argument though, right? Like, yeah, we're kind of waiting on Nintendo, as you guys are saying, but here's the thing, right? Like, there are so many games on the eShop now that are selling really well, right? And I imagine the Sega Ages will also sell really well. But what happens if Nintendo does just explode with a whole bunch of virtual console games? Don't you guys think that that'll like severely hamper other digital sales on the eShop?
No, not really.
I don't think so. I think if they separate things well and they keep things organized on like their current eShop, I think they'll probably have like a separate section, like a completely separate section. Like this is the virtual console games. Like you'll go and you'll look at new releases and there'll be, you know, like the tabs they have now, and there'll be like a virtual console tab. So I don't think it's just gonna be like overrunning the eShop with virtual console games everywhere. Because yeah, like you said, that would be crazy. It would be kind of getting in the way of seeing, you know, like brand new releases. So, and as I said, I think they're gonna have like a Netflix service as well to go alongside it, so they'll probably have a separate thing for that too. Maybe inside the virtual console tab, there'll be like big banner, you know, fire service, kind of thing. So I don't think it'll be a problem if they take it right.
I just think the eShop needs to be completely overhauled. Like, it is just straight up trash
pretty
right
much.
now. It is bad because like, you go on the eShop and you see all the recent games that have come out, and a lot of them are shovelware-ish territory. I don't want to say they're all bad, but a lot of them are games you've never heard of before, right? And to an extent, that's interesting because you'd be maybe more willing to give it a try, maybe. But like, there are games that just want to check up on, like, ARMS is not available on the front page, right? Skyrim, Doom, like the big popular games, like they're not there. Like, and you could check the bestseller list, but the bestseller list only includes the games that have been selling really well over the last 2 weeks. So something that came out maybe 6 months ago that you're now more interested in trying out, you have to literally search for it, and it's kind of a cumbersome thing. I really wish I could have like a feature where I could see like, oh, okay, these are like the big $60 games, these are the nindies, these are, sort of the in-betweens. Like, I would like it if they had more categorizations and really, put it designed in a way that actually like marketed these different kinds of games. And the same thing could apply for if and when Nintendo brings a virtual console that as well, and Sega Ages. I think that would be really cool, but it's just a mess right now.
I think it was No Filter that commented something like that on my video, and he basically said he feels like that something like that would get in the way of what Nintendo is trying to do. They're trying to essentially, get as many third parties as possible, but I don't really see the overlap there. Like, I told him that those are two completely different audiences. I feel like it's pretty rare to see like the person with the same mindset of like, I got to get the most recent AAA game and I have to get this super old retro game. Like, I doubt that there will be much like cannibalism there. But and I also said that PlayStation, or Sony rather, they do PS2 games and they make a huge deal out of those. They port PlayStation 2 hits to the PlayStation 4 and they advertise that. And they have a PS Now service, which they do in favor of backwards compatibility, which they also advertise as a subscription service. And they like that doesn't really take away from any sales. And obviously Microsoft, I think, is the champion, at least right now, of legacy content. All of their systems are accessible as far as game goes. If you own an Xbox One, you own all the Xboxes. So that never really takes away from third parties, if you ask me.
Well, I do feel like there are certain like sort of games that don't perform that well on Sony and Microsoft, but on Nintendo systems do perform pretty well. Like Sega games, right? I think Sega games, fit really well with Nintendo. So that's really, I think it's going to be a good fit. And, as long as they categorize things appropriately, I think the sales situation will be fine. But I do think that Nintendo Virtual Console does take up a large space. But, I mean, it's competition, and if they release it, they could do two different things, actually. Like, if they just kind of do what they've always done, where they release just a few games at a time, I think it'll be fine, like you're saying, Will. But another option would be to like, what if all of the Nintendo Virtual Console is a part of the subscription service? Like, what if, like, how kind of like how Microsoft has like their Gamer Pass, where you have access to a whole bunch of games just by paying, you know, the monthly amount or something. Like on Nintendo, what if we get that and we literally just have access to the entire Virtual Console, right? But maybe you can only have like a couple games downloaded at once. That would be like a limitation. But if you delete one, you can get another. Something like that, I think would be really cool. I would appreciate it. I imagine some people would like to have all of them all in one package, right? And maybe you can still do that. But maybe that's an option they could do. As long as they don't like explode out, you know, with the timing, which I'm sure they're gonna be aware of, I don't think the sales situation will be that bad. So I guess I mostly agree with you, Will.
Yeah.
I don't know about 2 at a time, but yeah, I think you pretty much got it.
Yeah, I mean, that was just a random idea of like how they could maybe handle, you know, like if like they do a subscription service for a Virtual Console. But you know, actually,
I can see Brandon's idea, where they have it because they know there are people that would rather just pay for a subscription service, but they also don't want to turn their back on the people that will buy them individually.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, you know what? That makes sense. I mean, and instead of just limiting them, like how many you can have down, maybe it's simply limited by the amount of space you have. So, you know, I mean, obviously the Switch kind of already has a limitation if you don't buy a micro SD card. Yeah. So
they're definitely earning, you know, a good amount of money. I mean, when you're paying for this subscription service, I mean, most people, it's like 2 to 3 games a year for the average person. So when you're paying that, you know, if you're just buying some smaller games, it's definitely they get more money if you pay every month, even if you're getting a bunch more games. So it's odd how that works exactly, but for the average consumer, they end up paying more, but they think they're actually paying less. It's like when you get, you know, coupons for sale for things you're not going to buy, and you're like, I'm saving money, but you're not actually, because you weren't actually going to buy stuff.
Yeah, you end up buying more than you ever would have. Exactly. Yeah, the Walmart effect. Exactly. Don't stay in Walmart for more than 30 minutes, or you'll go broke. That's my rule of thumb.
Don't stay in Best Buy for more than 30 minutes. I look at all those 4K TVs. I'm just like whipping out my wallet.
At least there, like everything is kind of really expensive, and a lot of it is in like plastic cases that are holding you back. Like you have to go out and ask someone. So like it's not as like, you know, like sometimes you just like on a whim you buy something, right? And Walmart, I feel like it forces you to, or it encourages more on a whim buys.
Candy bars while you're waiting for somebody else's groceries to be rung up.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think that's kind of what could happen. But you know, I'm really excited about Sega Ages. Like I was actually thinking about going back and like eventually buying a Saturn, buying a Dreamcast, and collecting some of the classics. But now that this has been announced, maybe I don't have to do that. I might still do it eventually, you know. But like that is really cool.
Probably a lot cheaper option.
Yes, definitely way cheaper. But I guess what do you think like the time frame is on this, right? Like when can we start expecting to play some of these games, and when do you think we'll eventually get like Dreamcast stuff? No idea.
I think it'd be sooner than Sega expects. Like I feel like they're sort of like underestimating, and they're like, all right, we're gonna give you guys like 2-3 games, see how they do, and then they like max out their expectations. They're like, holy crap, put them on there, They want our stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why Sega has this thing where they're I guess hesitant, or I don't know what they're aiming for, but they clearly don't expect Nintendo fans to like buy whatever they're gonna put out like all like hotcakes or whatever. I don't know what.
Yeah. It's like some developers don't notice that this is, you know, the fastest selling console of all time and has one of the highest attach rates for games of all time, and people are just eating up even like any type of game like hotcakes as long as it's good quality. It's like the developers don't realize these facts that everybody else knows.
I still think that the memory of the Wii U and other, like, you know, poor sales situations from Nintendo is still burned in their minds, so there are still some companies that are kind of hesitant.
They can't see. They have Wii U glasses.
But also, like, shifting development focus takes time, so, you know, I think that's another reason. But
yeah.
And also, they've been doing just on. They've been on Microsoft and Sony for years already. That's what they're comfortable with doing. That's not new. That's normal. That's just status quo. They've been doing that for over a decade in the framework it's been like, you know, because like the 360 PS3 era became very normalized just to do it for those two consoles, and then the PS4, Xbox One maintained that same trend. Like, so I mean, for over a decade, that's just been what they've done. So now the Switch is sort of creating this different environment now, so I think a lot of developers have to like reassess how they do things, and sometimes it's just easier to stick with what you know. So that may be why one of the few reasons why some developers are hesitant, you know, to just announce everything immediately. But I think, you know, as time goes on, it'll get better. It's already been getting better, but it's still not good enough, obviously, because we're still complaining. But you know, hopefully.
I disagree. In Sega's case, like they've always, and Sonic Forces actually did good on the Switch for what they say, and I know Sonic Mania did really good on the Switch, and they've always stuck with Nintendo, especially through the Wii U. They had 3 exclusive games on the Wii U actually.
Yeah.
Sonic is in Smash, Wii U, and 3DS. I don't know. Sega is, if there was one ride or die, I think Sega would be that guy for Nintendo.
I hear what you're saying, and I mean, it's true. There are games that have come from Sega that have been coming on Nintendo systems. They never abandoned Nintendo, but there are certain types of games that haven't been coming on Nintendo systems that could be coming on Nintendo systems. For example, Bioshock. Like Bioshock, you know, so has it been announced yet? There was like a rumor about a Bioshock being announced or something.
I think
like,
it wasn't.
It was not announced, right? So, you know, there's just certain games that could come to.
Oh,
Nintendo.
You turned it into like a lesson about third parties in general. Oh yeah, that.
Yeah.
I thought that was like obvious, but
yeah.
Yeah.
I missed the child guard. Yeah, I did too. So man.
Yeah. So let's check what's going on in the chat here. Unless there's anything else you guys want to say to Sega Ages and all the like. Oh, I can't wait to play Sonic Adventure. Like I never got a chance to play Sonic Adventure like on the Dreamcast. Like I want that on the Switch. Like that's gonna be amazing.
Yeah.
Sonic Colors was actually one of my favorite Sonic games too, Vegeta.
I didn't play that one. I watched Sugar Conroy. Let's play it.
I love Sugar Conroy.
Dude, favorite Let's Player of all time.
He's pretty
one
good.
of my biggest inspirations for
like
being YouTube.
He's like the only one I still watch after all these years. I used to watch like 1,000, but now he's like the only one left I watch.
Yeah.
So Sabbath is saying he feels that Sonic Lost World is a little underrated. I remember when that game came out, it looked really good to me, but I heard all the reviews were really, really bad. Like there was like broken mechanics. But then I heard they updated it and they fixed some of those things, but I never got around to buying it. So I mean, if that was a game that was like remastered and like changed up and they added new content on the Switch, I would seriously consider buying it. But I don't think that'll happen because I think Sega just moves on from one Sonic to the next to the next and next. So
it was definitely a step in the right direction. I personally feel like
it had like that Galaxy art style, like it was inspired by Galaxy to an extent, you know, which was pretty awesome to me.
Sort of, yeah. I played the demo for it. It wasn't bad. It just wasn't amazing. But then again, it was a demo, so
yeah.
You never know.
So let's move on, right? Unless you guys have anything else to say.
No.
No. Okay. There's been this patent that's come up. Brandon, you seem to know quite a bit about it. So how about you sort of let us know, and I'll put up the image for people to see. You know.
Yeah, it's this really strange pattern, as you can see, where there's multiple screens that they don't even have to be like touched or connected or anything. They just have to be in proximity of each other, and they interact with each other. So you can have one thing happen on a screen, like I think in the picture you're seeing, that's bowling. So you have one screen, there's the ball. You would roll the ball, it would move from that screen to the other screen and hit the pins. So it's like this strange thing where you use multiple screens to play a single game, and the screens can interact with each other. You can swipe your finger across one screen and then go to the next screen, and it will continue. It's kind of like when you have like two screens on your PC and you move your mouse over and it goes to the other screen and back and forth and back. kind of like that with your finger and different things like that, and balls and games and all kinds of different things like that. So it's very interesting. I'm confused. I think it's kind of more like one piece of the puzzle. I don't think this is like an entire idea. I think this is like this might be like an idea inside of an idea, and that's why it kind of doesn't feel like something that can be mainstream or something that can be used all that conveniently. Like it looks like it'd be tedious and bothersome. I think this is like an idea inside of another idea. I think this idea is gonna be used, with something else, and that's what's gonna make it fun.
So, the thing that's kind of weird to me, right, is that I've seen a lot of people report on this patent already, and I mean, I guess it requires like new hardware to do it, maybe. But like a lot of people are seeing this patent, and they think that it suggests that this is for a new like 3DS successor or something along those lines. And I'm not quite in agreement with that. And I'll explain my point in a bit. But what do you guys think about that? Do you think this is for like the next 3DS, right? Or is this for a Switch 2.0 or something else? What do you guys think?
No.
Honestly, I don't see why it can't be just for the Switch. I mean, I don't see what features this has that it doesn't. Communication across other devices, you got that. It's easy. It can link up to like 8 different Switches at once. That's 8 screens you got there. It's got gyro control. It's got 10-point touch screen. Yeah, I don't see why this couldn't just be Switch screens.
I guess the thing that potentially could hold it back is, I guess, the communication feature between one screen and another, like how fast and dynamic that might be. Like maybe they need to be better than what it would be now. But I mean, if you can play like Mario Kart at 60 frames per second with, can it go up to like 8? I don't know how many people can go up locally, but it's at least 4. It might be more. Like I don't see why they couldn't do that.
Splatoon.
I guess actually,
you can play Splatoon with like 4 people.
I guess actually, what it would be, just so it's one Switch understanding exactly where the other Switch is in terms of screens. That might be the limitation in terms of the communication, right? How they tell where one screen is in relation to another. That sort of like wireless technology may not be in the Switch hardware, and that might be what could.
Might be something you plug through the USB port, though. I mean, USB-C is like just all kinds of crazy stuff you can do with that thing.
The return of like the wireless adapter. Like I remember during the Game Boy Advance era, there was quite a few like different like things that came out for like different games. You had like this gyroscope that was for Yoshi Topsy Turvy. There was like a couple Rumble packs that came. There was the wireless adapter for Fire Red, Leaf Green, so you could communicate with other players without a link cable. So this could be sort of like something like that, where we get perhaps a wireless adapter that allows the screens to communicate like that. That's possible. But it's also possible that maybe it's just a plan for another hardware, or maybe it's just an idea that we'll never actually see.
Yeah.
What do you think, Will? Do you think this is for something in the works?
I don't think this is because I don't think they'd let it go public if it was like, oh yeah, this is our next big thing. But I think this, like, it might be the result of maybe the Labo, but I think they would have revealed it a little sooner than this if it was like something that's like the fallout of the Labo. I think that this is sort of like a failed design of their next, because they have multiple things to expand the audience. Like I already said in the other podcast, they can reach audiences that Sony and Microsoft couldn't hope to reach. So I think that this is like the fallout of that, or it's definitely something. So
it definitely kind of does remind me of like a Labo-like functionality for sure. And I can see the potential for like multiplayer Labo. Like that'd be really interesting, right?
Yeah, I'm wondering if maybe it's for a Labo kit that we don't know about. Also, I think there were Switch patents and stuff that came up like before we saw exactly what the Switch was, like before we saw it in action, wasn't there? Maybe it came out like slightly after. I know it's around like either a little bit before we saw it, or like after. I think there were like patents and stuff. So,
well,
I mean, it could be something that's actually coming out.
I can't either. from what I remember, right, and I've been paying attention to, like, you know, like patents and stuff, like whenever they come up in video game forums for like since the GameCube era, right? And I remember there have been patents that have come up that have basically meant nothing, right? When we saw them, they meant nothing. But there have also been patents that were related to consoles that did come out eventually. So I'd say it's actually hit or miss. But also the way the patents are shown, the patents don't, even if they do use that technology in the system, the way it's being shown isn't exactly how it's going to end up being marketed or presented, or how it's going to sort of appear to us when we finally see it, you know? So, you know, it's one of those things where, like, a patent, even if it is something that's going to be used in a system in the future, the way it's being shown off isn't really that indicative of what it's actually going to be. You know, it's just, I guess it's basically just protection of that technology. That's what a patent is. They put this out there so no one else can steal the technology that they've come up with for a potential new hardware in the future. So that's all this is. So, you know, like, Nintendo has this patent out there because they want to protect their rights with this technology. Whatever that means, we'll find out eventually, or maybe we won't, because it may mean nothing.
Yeah, a lot of patents are pretty much garbage used that they're throwing away, or so.
Yeah, and actually, Vooper is speaking to my point. Like, she's saying that there were patents for the controllers that you could take apart, right? But they didn't really look like the Joy-Cons, as she said. But, you know, it was the technology that ended up being sort of used with the Joy-Cons. So, you know, this has happened before. That
patents are just concepts,
right? Honestly. But I do want to sort of raise the question, though, because I touched on it earlier. Like I agree with you, Brandon. Like, I feel like this, I don't think you can implement it with the Switch, mainly because I don't know if the Switches can distinguish exactly where one screen is from another, right? Maybe they could release some sort of USB adapter or peripheral to allow that, or maybe it could be something planned for, you know, the next Switch, right? Which may be more suited for Labo-like technologies, among other things. And maybe it won't have, like, the bezel like that the Switch has now, right? Because, like, that bezel creates even more separation. So imagine you get two Switches together, right? If you count the bezels for both, like, that's quite a bit of separation that I think would make it a little hard to sort of decide where one thing's going to end up when you slide from one side of the screen to the other. But if the next version of the Switch, right, whatever that is, has, like, no bezel, it's basically kind of almost like, you know, like a phone screen, then maybe they could incorporate that technology and it'll be a more seamless sort of design. And I don't think it needs to be for, like, a 4DS or, like, you know, a 3DS successor.
Right.
I think that would be so weird, though. I don't think that would make sense for Nintendo business-wise, right? Like, we already have, like, different, like, handheld teams already moving over to the 3DS. I mean, over to the Switch. So it would be weird to see them go back. And they would then also have two different types of handhelds then. Because the Switch is, yes, it appeals to the home console market, but it's still a handheld, you know? It would be weird. I don't see that happening.
Defeat the purpose entirely. If you have a console that literally outdoes the portability of your console, that has the point of portability. Like, the draw of the Switch is portability. Why would you release a portable?
Yeah, I don't understand. There's some people out there who are like, oh, Nintendo's going to release another handheld. And so it's like, no, I don't think that's going to happen.
Maybe an update for the Switch.
Like he alluded to, it's why would they? Because they're merging teams. I don't even think they're completely done yet. Why would they rip them apart again? I don't think that doesn't make sense.
It would be very backwards for sure. So I don't really see it. I just, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. But at the same time, Nintendo has done things before that don't make sense, right? But I think what makes sense, though, is that maybe we could see this technology in a Switch 2.0. Like, that makes sense. I mean, Nintendo does do hardware updates. Maybe this is not even next-gen Switch. It could be, like, you know, Switch I or Switch Plus or whatever new Nintendo Switch, which I would hate if they were to go back to that name.
And I would definitely buy it.
Worst branding ever. I think the new naming was worse than the Wii branding. You know, because at least the Wii was distinguishable. People knew what the Wii was. When they incorporated a new to the 3DSs, like, that was just really confusing. Well, I'm gonna buy a new Nintendo 3DS, or I'm gonna pick up a used new Nintendo 3DS. That is so confusing. And for people who don't pay attention to the game industry, they're just like moms or paws that are just trying to get a system for their kids, like, they probably don't know what the hell is going on.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
just call it like the Switch XL or something. People understood that.
Yeah, Switch XL would actually make a lot of sense for sure. Switch Mini would also be pretty simple as well. That would
Yeah.
work. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So then let's see what people are saying in the chat before we move on to the topic. Is there anything else you guys want to say in regards to these patents though? Like, or is it just kind of like, yeah, whatever?
That's just final thoughts. I think it could be used in Labo, and I just hope whatever it's used for isn't tedious as it looks. You know, it just doesn't look fun. That's why I'm thinking it's something. There's something else going with this. I think I don't think this is just you pull out some screens, you throw them against each other, and yeah, you start playing games, because that just doesn't sound good.
I do think, like, you know, in the future that would be a good way for some sort of multiplayer. Like, imagine if both people had like an updated Switch, right, where you could just play a touchscreen game on it, and you're both next to each other on an airplane. It's like, oh, you have this game too? Oh, we can, like, you know, play each other, whatever sort of touchscreen mechanics interact with each other. Maybe it could just be like simple air hockey, or, you know, whatever sort of touchscreen game that you could do that, right? Like, or imagine like co-op World of Goo where it's between two screens. Like, that's just a random idea. Just
if it's one screen per person though, I don't want to be holding like 2 or 3 screens, you know, try to be like putting them around, mess with all of them by myself. Like, that's just, it could be cool. Actually, I'm thinking some pretty cool things right now that it could. Okay, maybe it's not as tedious as I thought, but I still think mostly like one player, one screen per person would probably be the best.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see this technology ever becoming like a primary use for a system, right? Like, it's still going to be about just playing games on your Switch. Like, when you do put screens together, I think it's just going to be like something that happens occasionally, depending on the player. Maybe some people might prefer more casual kind of games, but like for hardcore games, this means little to nothing. You know?
No. Yeah.
But going to the chat though, Vegeta's saying that how about if that you know, the pad's actually like a 3DS that you're using as a remote for the Switch. I mean, like, we've seen the 3DS connect with the Wii U before. The idea of them incorporating like a connection between the 3DS and the Switch, to me, is a little. I don't think they'll do that, because
they've already done that.
With what?
Monster Hunter Double Cross in Japan. You can play with the 3DS.
Right.
Oh.
I just don't think they're going to continue doing stuff like that. I think the 3DS is eventually going to phase out. I think it's going to be more about connections between different kinds of Switches. So, yeah, but I mean, the technology exists for sure, and there could still be games that do it. Like you said, Will, Double Cross did it in Japan, so, you know, that is a possibility. It would be weird, but it wouldn't actually, you know, like, Vegeta said he really thinks it could be linked. Like, what if, like, just entertaining the idea here, what if the Labo comes out and there is like a compatibility with the 3DS sort of set, like kit that comes out where you do have to use a 3DS as like a controller that also happens on the Switch, and you like combine Labo and stuff. Like, they could do that, but at the same time, like, I don't know if they would go for that, because that's just an additional piece of hardware.
Having to use the 3DS as a controller.
But
Nintendo has always been about convenience, and so like they're like, oh, if you don't own an extra pair of Joy-Con, or if you don't own a Pro Controller, there's the option to use the 3D. Like the Smash Wii U is like, okay, if you don't own a second Pro Wii, I don't fucking know. It's the Wii U was stupid. Anyways, there was the option to use the 3DS, and it was convenient. It was sheer convenience. They didn't charge activity app for the 3DS. It was free, and you can tell that they just wanted fans to be convenienced.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a possibility. That may happen. I don't know if it will happen, but it's possible for sure. So Sabbath is asking if I think that they'll make Smash for the 3DS again with the new one coming out.
No.
Yeah, I don't think so. But I'd bet a lot of money that that's not happening. So,
I'd bet my entire PC setup that is not gonna happen.
You want me to hold you to that?
No.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't worry about that. It's not gonna happen. They already have the Smash Bros on the 3DS, and you know, a lot of
If they have
implication.
announced that beside it, they would have said, you know, Switch
Yeah.
2018, 3DS 2018.
Yeah, at the same time, like, you know, like, I feel like there's a very high likelihood that a lot of the content that was in the 3DS is going to be on Smash for Switch, right? Even if it's not like a straight up port, like, and it is kind of more of like a new Smash game, there's still gonna be a lot of assets being carried over. Like, like, what point will there be to just basically, you know, release it again? I don't think they're gonna do that. It just, I don't think so.
I mean, I think at this point it's a fact that they aren't going to do it. They called it Smash for Switch, not really like Smash for 3DS.
Right. Yeah, that's true. They would have announced something. They haven't. So yeah, I wouldn't worry about it at all. So let's move on. Unless there's anything else you want to say about these patents. I don't think I think we pretty much covered it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about some of the pokey rumor drama, right? I didn't know what else to call the topic because, like, there's a few different things happen. Like, I made a video on Sunday morning about this official Spanish Nintendo magazine that came out in Spain during a Comic-Con. And in the back, there was some blurbs that they were all just basic summaries. Like, nothing new was out of any of them. And I never, if there wasn't a whole bunch of news coming out about it, I wouldn't have made a big deal about it. But, like, people were making a big deal about it, so I decided to make a video about it to talk about it. And basically the blurb just said, you know, I'm summarizing here. Oh, the new Pokemon game is coming out for Switch. It's going to be set in the 8th generation, and it's going to be coming out 2018 or later. What we know already. The only thing that's really, like, substantial there is that it says in the 8th generation. But, and I got this vibes when I was reading it, that this is just kind of like, yes, it is an official Nintendo magazine, but that doesn't mean that they have, like, contacts or they have actual intel on what the game is. Like, sometimes they're just speculating. It was literally at the back of the magazine, not like, you know, like the front, like a big, like, you know, focus story. It was at the back of the magazine where they were just hyping up some games. So I don't really take it with too much seriousness. Like, I think they just said 8th generation, but they don't really know if it actually is or not. And on top of that, like, this magazine before apparently literally said, like, oh, there's going to be a Pearl and Diamond remake. They made that assumption, but they didn't actually know that. They just made that assumption, and that never happened. So it's just kind of like that. It just seems more like speculation to me. So, yeah, I'm not taking this magazine too seriously, but it could be 8th generation. We are semi-expecting that. What do you guys think about this magazine from what you guys have heard?
Is 8th generation and the next generation, or is that Sun and Moon?
Yes, 8th generation would be the next generation. Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun and Moon were Generation 7.
I think it's going to be Gen 8. I don't think it's going to be Gen 7. So, I don't know about this magazine, but I personally think it's going to be Gen 8.
As much as I would like a reboot, it only makes sense to go Gen 8. Like, I would like a reboot, like a fresh start. Like, in comics, they reboot so newcomers can get in on the trend. That's what I'm waiting on with the Pokemon series. It's not that compelling for me right now because it's very, very concise, and I don't feel like the least bit. I'm not gonna get into that, but I would like a reboot, but I don't think that I think Gen 8 is like the logical step. I don't know.
Yeah, I could see a reboot though. Like, there's been a lot of speculation that, you know, they're remaking Red and Blue and stuff like that, and I think that could be really, really cool. Like, it gotta go for that kind of Pokemon Go thing where people recognize the, you know, the first, was it like 180, however many Pokemon? I don't really know.
150.
150. Okay, that's what it is.
Well,
the first,
151
like,
if you count Mew.
Oh, 151 Pokemon. Like, people recognize those way more than the new ones. Like, that's just a fact. Like, people do. So they could be trying to go for that, and I think it'd be really cool. Just, you know, just complete nostalgia trip, seeing, you know, the old games remade completely in HD for the Nintendo Switch. That might be what they're doing, because I mean, some people pointed out it's like a little early for Gen 8. So maybe they're holding off Gen 8 till, like, you know, next year, the year after, and maybe there's a reboot coming this year. That could be happening.
Well, yeah, just a fun fact here, right? Like, if you go and check the releases for the first games for each generation, the shortest wait we've ever had is 3 years. It's usually 3 years between one generation and the next, and there's been a couple times where it's been 4. It's never been 2, right? Because Sun and Moon came out in 2016, and we're in 2018. And there's a lot of information actually suggesting that 2018 could be happening. We'll talk about that in a moment, but there's information suggesting that they're going through the translation phase now, which is usually pretty much like the last phase, or one of the last things you do for a game. That means it's pretty much done. And we're not even halfway through 2018, which means it could be coming out this year. But that's not confirmed to some sources. But regardless, if the game comes out in 2018, if it is Generation 8, that would be the quickest turnover for a new generation we've ever seen. So that's why some people think it might not be Generation 8. And Will, Brandon, you both brought up, like, the idea of doing, like, something that is kind of sticking with using the original Pokemon is a good idea to bring in other people, like a reboot. I think that's a possibility. There are actually rumors suggesting that, you know, and I've talked about it before, like I even mentioned in my video, like, I think a reboot would work really well. One, like, you could go back to Kanto, but since it would be in a new 3D, maybe using a new engine, something even more advanced and more explorative than Sun and Moon, like, it would look really cool, look really different. It would no longer have the grid-like structure. There probably would be new areas. It could be set in the future, new story, having some new areas, some new towns. You can incorporate maybe Johto, since Johto is directly connected with Kanto. You know, maybe we can get those Gen 2 Mega Evolutions that we never got. There's also the Sevi Islands. So there's a lot of, like, map that they could use for this game and make it, like, the biggest Pokemon game yet. That's a possibility. And they wouldn't have to create a whole bunch of new Pokemon. And that could make things a lot easier. And we already know that all the Pokemon for Sun and Moon are already, like, they already have them in HD and set up. Like, they just need to be scaled up, and they could maybe rework the textures a little bit, and they would look really good in HD. Like, they're pretty much there. They even have walking animations for all the Pokemon in the game. It was in the code. Like, so they have a lot of details already prepared for a whole new game. They have the assets. So I don't know. It could be a Kanto reboot. It could be a Generation 8. I think a possibility is that maybe they would go back to Kanto, right? But it would be structured in a way where we wouldn't see a bunch of new Pokemon, but the game will still be compatible with new Pokemon with a simple update, and that generation, like the new generation, could come out next year once they introduce people with a new story, with some new mechanics, with, you know, a new graphical system this year. I like that idea, but we'll see. Like, what would you want more, actually? Well, I guess would be a good question. Would you want a new region with new Pokemon, or are you okay with them sort of revisiting Kanto, but like I said, making it completely different, you know, new areas, everything's like in 3D now with some new Pokemon and mechanics? Like, what would you prefer, or is either one good?
That seems a little ambitious, I'll be honest. I would prefer a reboot, but no, I very much like the idea of them, like, going back, because that's kind of what they've been doing the whole time. They've been going back. They've been looking at what worked in the past and incorporating it with, like, new design elements, new engines, just making it old stuff glossy again. And I really like their whole philosophy right now. So I think I like the idea of them incorporating their older stuff into the newer things.
Yeah, I mean, I never played the original Pokemon. I've never played any mainline Pokemon game, so if it's a remake of the original, I'd be down for that.
I want to stop you there for a second. There's a reboot and a remake are two different things. Like, a remake, I would not be down with, because, like, if they just get right, but just, you know, to make my point, like, if they were to get Fire Red, Leaf Green and put it in 3D, I would not be happy with that, right? Like, so, you know, I think a reboot's possible, mainly because, you know, they already have the map. They just have to structure it out and put in the Pokemon they've already made. That would be cool. But, you know, a Generation 8 could also be awesome, but at the same time, it would be the quickest new generation we've ever seen if it does come out this year.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I think, the more logical thing to say is that it's Generation 8, in my opinion.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So, but anyways, though, like, you know, we could talk about Kanto reboot Generation 8. Yeah, I mean, you know, Vooper's actually saying, yeah, we've been to Kanto many, many times. Like, do we really need to do it again? I don't know. If it feels completely different, I'm okay with it. Like, technically, like, most Zelda games are set in Hyrule, right? But they still all feel very different, you know? So, like, even if it's technically Kanto, doesn't mean it's going to feel the same. But, you know, we'll see what they're going to do. And I actually think we may be seeing what Pokemon Company is going to do really soon, because there's a lot of information suggesting that there could be a direct right around the corner, they're like Pixel Par, who supposedly has like insider information. He thinks it's going to be announced really, really soon. Like he had this like 30-day challenge where like he was saying if by day 30 if Pokemon is not announced for the Switch, like revealed, that he will literally start drawing out all of his tweets. And today is like the first business day where he has to start doing that, apparently, I think. So we may get an announcement for a direct really soon for Pokemon. We are in that window that may happen really soon. And then we will no longer have to debate about it being, oh, Kanto reboot, oh, Generation 8, oh, something else. You know, like, this discussion is going to be ending really soon, I think. And I mentioned earlier that there's information suggesting that the translations are already going on for this game. It's a rumor, it's not confirmed, right? So don't assume that, guys. But, you know,
each Zelda is just a reimagining of the first Zelda. So, I mean, you're always in Hyrule. So, I mean, I wouldn't really see the problem. If it's a reboot, is when you make it completely different and way more accessible. But even then, it doesn't really have to take place in Kanto, whatever it's called. It doesn't have to take place there. So, yeah.
And it doesn't have to be like, you know, just the same routes and the same gyms and everything, but in HD, it could be new routes, it could be completely new gyms. Like there could even be new Pokemon in there above the 150 if they wanted. There could be new battle mechanics. There could be all kinds of stuff they could add. I mean, it's a reboot. There's no hold barred there.
Right, and that's the assumption it's actually a reboot, though, right? Like, as long as it's gonna be a Pokemon game, that's all we know, really. Like that is all we know. And I don't really I don't really care where it is, as long as it's a new experience for me. That's all that matters, and I think that's what it's gonna be, regardless of what it is. So yeah.
As far as like when the direct will be, like I've been saying for like a couple of weeks now, like I really think it's gonna be soon. And I think it's either going to be maybe this month, but probably more likely sometime next month is when I'm thinking we're going to get it. I don't think it's going to be all the way till June. I don't think they're going to wait that long. I don't think it's going to be, you know, like a week before E3 or anything like it was last year for Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. I think it's going to be a little bit earlier than that, since it's probably going to be a much bigger deal of a game than Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon was. So I think probably May, if not maybe sometime this month even.
Right.
Probably sometime mid-May.
The investors meeting for the shareholders, I believe, is April 26th.
Oh, it could happen before then.
Yeah, because they want to give a Pokemon update for those investors. You said 28th, Will?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Pretty sure it's 28th.
Well, anyways, it's within 2 weeks. I could double check the actual date right now, but
we could be seeing a Pokemon trailer within then. I keep saying the same. I can't English today. But yeah, we could be seeing one before then. I think
we could get some solid like 2018 confirmations. I think from a direct that would happen this month, like you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, they don't even have to do a full blowout. Then it could just, as you're saying, they could just give us some information. Maybe do a direct in May that, you know, shows off like actual gameplay. Maybe they could do like what they did for Sun and Moon, where they just show off, you know, concept art, maybe a couple screenshots, and be like, oh, it's definitely coming out 2018. Expect the Pokemon Direct soon. You know, just release like a trailer instead before the investors meeting if they don't want to, you know, release a whole Direct before then.
So apparently it's going to be April 26th. Yeah, that's when the investors briefing is going to be. Okay. So
within 10 days.
We could be seeing something really soon. We could make okay, like soon, like they could end up not showing anything at all, and just on the 26th date we just see the, you know, release list, and it just says Pokemon 2018, or it could say just Pokemon 2019. Like they just might update that little text that says 2018 or later to 2018 or 2019, and we may not get nothing else. You know, that's a possibility. But the very least, we'll get something. We'll get some information about Pokemon, if it's just that, by the 26th. But it is possible that we may get a full-on reveal of the game right before this investors meeting. It could be this week. There are people who literally believe that there's going to be a direct announced, like, tomorrow. So, you know,
that'd be super hype.
I would be great. And, I mean, Will, we were talking about it before the podcast started, right? Like, you were saying this has kind of been a slow week for news and stuff, for the most part, right? Like, I didn't get a chance to say it, but I was thinking, oh, maybe it's the calm before the storm, you know, like... There's some truth to that. So maybe it is around the corner. I mean, historically speaking, April is within that window, so, you know, it's got to happen soon.
Yeah. Honestly, if we don't see it in like May or something, I'm gonna be like thinking it's 2019.
Yeah.
I think Nintendo is like really self-aware. Like I think the directs are more like malleable than we think. Like I think they drop it here, drop it there whenever they want. They're like, oh, people are expecting it on the internet. All right, move it to like Friday or something. I don't know.
I agree with you. I think they're really flexible. Yeah, I think they're really flexible with their directs. You're absolutely right, Will.
Like the directs, and I think this is what a lot of people get tripped up on. The Nintendo directs aren't mandatory. Nintendo chooses to update us on this stuff. They don't have to give us anything. That's why I don't like when people say, "Oh, this one sucked," or they compare to Nintendo Direct. They're like, "This one sucked. This one was okay." Like they don't have to do anything. You guys know this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's interesting, right? Because bearing that in mind, like there have been rumors predicting directs before, and they've gotten them wrong. But then there are some things within those rumors that have come true afterwards. So does that mean that the rumors were just lucky, or did maybe they got some inside information, but those plans changed, right? And I mean, what do you guys think about that? Good example. So remember the rumor about the major Nintendo Direct that was supposedly happening in January, where we were going to hear about both Fire Emblem and Metroid, and that didn't happen. But that rumor also said that Metroid was being made by Bandai Namco, and you know we've gotten reports that Bandai Namco is developing Metroid.
Yeah, personally, I think that one might have just been wrong, because I don't think that was the time to talk about Metroid at all. Like, it didn't feel like that'd be a great time to talk about that game.
Like yeah, I mean, if they were going to do it, show it in January, even if they changed their plans, why haven't we seen it yet? You know, but the same could be said for Fire Emblem, though. I think we all expected to see Fire Emblem in January or March, and we still haven't gotten anything about Fire Emblem. So, did they just change their plans, or did they never really intend to show Fire Emblem or Metroid early on?
I feel like if they intended to back in January, they probably would have by now. Or would soon.
Yeah. So, is there anything else that we want to say to all the, this potential Pokemon information? I'm going to check the chat, see what you guys think. But I think we're almost ready to move on. Wait, what were you going to say, Will?
I think because I remember seeing this article, and I forgot to suggest it as a topic, and it basically said Nintendo treats, they pretty much Fire Emblem is a major IP to Nintendo now. So it's not a super reach to say that Nintendo is saving that for E3 at this point.
Yeah.
Because I remember we had these discussions, and we were like, oh yeah, Fire Emblem could be like that game of the show. It could be that Super Mario Odyssey. And we were like, nah, that's never ever gonna happen. And now I think it's possible. So that's hilarious.
It would be interesting, because I feel like Fire Emblem usually comes out like early part of the year, even on the 3DS, right? Did they ever go for the holiday release on the 3DS?
Not sure.
Time, I think they came out earlier. There may have been some times where they came out late, but as far as I remember, a lot of them were like in like May, April.
Yeah, so
I know the last release was in I think April or May. So
I'm literally Googling Fire Emblem right now to see the scheduled releases.
That's a good idea.
We must have the facts.
Oh, Wiki's not telling. Oh, there we go. Actually,
the latest they release is like summer, so
yeah. But maybe this one will be even bigger, because it's like the first time it's been on. It's almost like the Pokemon situation. It's like the first time it's been on console in a long time. Except Pokemon is even worse, because it's the first time. But it's kind of that similar situation. They haven't been on a console since the GameCube, so this could be a much bigger game. I mean, Nintendo themselves said it's gonna be like a big, expansive, like absolutely gorgeous game. They're really working on the graphics and stuff. It's gonna be like blow you away how it looks and stuff like that. So maybe they're treating it as like this big, really big game.
So the last 3 major Fire Emblem games on 3DS, Echoes, Awakening, Fates, all of them have come out early part of the first half of the year. All of them. So either A, Fire Emblem was actually coming out like in June and Nintendo hasn't announced it yet, or it's coming out, later on in the year. right?
I
So
think it's later on in the year.
yeah, at this point, I would say that's a safe bet.
Right.
Yeah.
At this point, Nintendo views Fire Emblem as like the cash cow because since then,
Oh yeah.
like the whole mobile app, it's crazy in Japan, and
Yeah, it's so doing good.
right. So I don't know. I think it's a whole different series now, as far as how Nintendo views it.
Well, that's how they view it. But how do I view it? Because my opinion matters to me. And I haven't played a Fire Emblem game in a few years. Like, I know the 3DS ones are really good, but I never got around to playing them. So then, like, you know, I'll probably give it a try on Switch. I mean, I have some good memories of Fire Emblem. Like, Fire Emblem on the Game Boy Advance was just the bomb. But I personally am like, oh, so what if it ends up being where we get no Pokemon, we get no Metro, we get no Bayonetta 3, it's just Smash Brothers and Fire Emblem? I'd be a little disappointed, not gonna lie, if that's all we get. I don't think that's all we're getting. I think there's more. I'm just saying that I'd be a little disappointed. However, I will give Fire Emblem a try, and maybe Fire Emblem will make me be like, oh my god, what have I been missing all these years? This is like the best game ever, right? Like, that is totally possible. And, I mean, actually, this could be one of the best Fire Emblems we've gotten yet, right? Like, who was it that said that, like, that this is going to be, like, a very graphically, like, intensive kind of game?
I think it was the director of the game, but I don't remember who it was. It was some big person at Nintendo, like actual like executive or like a director or somebody who knew what they were talking about. It wasn't, you know, just like some kind of like PR person who's like, oh yeah, it's gonna be amazing. But I don't remember who it was. But yeah, I'm actually really excited for it because I loved Fire Emblem Heroes on the phone. I used to play that when it came out. I played it like the first month or two it was out. I played it like nonstop. I was all over that game. So I loved that game. It was amazing. I just wish it had, you know, more in-depth battle mechanics, you know, because you know, it's not a mainline game. I wish it had a better, you know, actual story that's not, you know, like the most basic story you've ever seen in your entire life. So, you know, pretty much I wanted it to be a mainline game. And now that there's one coming on the Switch, it's supposed to be, you know, bigger and better and more beautiful than ever. I'm really excited for it. So as far as it and Smash being the only games, I think 2 games for the, you know, second half of the year, it doesn't matter what games are. That's going to be pathetic. So, like, honestly.
Well, I've missed this, but apparently Yoshi is actually listed as 2018 as well, so there's that. I think Yoshi is going to be a slightly bigger deal than Kirby. Like,
yeah, I've always liked Yoshi, but like, that game looks
They announced that last year.
They announced it last year, but I think the last shareholder meeting it was listed as a 2018 title.
Yeah. I think they announced, but when they announced it last year at E3, it was listed as 2018.
Yeah, they announced it with the year 2018.
Yeah.
We like all Nintendo articles called it Yoshi 2018.
Yeah, that's the name of it, was Yoshi 2018. That's what they were calling it.
I've rewatched the Spotlight event multiple times, so I don't remember that. So I'm literally gonna just pull it up and just check. Like
That's interesting. Actually. Metro was the only game they didn't announce for 2018. Actually,
okay. Sure. I am watching the Yoshi trailer right now.
All right.
Almost at the end.
I could be remembering it wrong. I mean, I remember official confirmation that Metroid Prime 4 was made with Unreal Engine 4, and obviously that was.
Oh yeah, you're right. There it is. 2018.
Yoshi
yep.
2018.
Absolutely right, guys. Right. I've ignored that every time I watch the trailer. Maybe because I don't pay attention to.
Maybe because it's ridiculously obvious.
Yes, it's hidden in plain sight. That's the thing. That's why I haven't noticed this whole time. So yeah, there you go.
I think that. Oh, also, just to go back to that Pokemon thing. Something I forgot to bring up is, I think that it could be that Pokemon, you know, just Pokemon companies just kind of sees it as painfully obvious that it's going to be Generation 8, and that's why they didn't really care. You know, they didn't really. Maybe they don't view it as news that it's Generation 8, and they're just like, oh, well, yeah, of course it's gonna be a new generation. It's this big new game we're making for the Switch. What did you guys think it was gonna be? And so maybe it's not really news to them. They don't really care that it's in this magazine.
I can just imagine like fans like bursting down their doors like, tell us the secret now. It's like, what secret? It's like, isn't it Generation 8? He's like, yeah. I was hiding it.
Yeah, maybe that is exactly what it is. That is possible. So
maybe they just don't care. Kind of like I don't.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, if you're not like a big Pokemon fan, I don't think you care. You're just kind of like, oh, you know, because it doesn't make a difference to you guys, right? You just want to play Pokemon because it's like your opportunity to try it out on the Switch, and it could be different. And I made the point that, like, whatever it is, as long as it's a new experience, I don't care what it is. And I mean, I think it's, regardless of what they do, it's going to feel like a new experience to me. So I'm satisfied. I'm not too concerned about that. But let me, like, check a couple things in the chat, because I think it's about time we move on. I wanted to get through this a little quicker. We're moving on. Let's see. People have said goodnight. They're probably gone already, but goodnight, Arshawn. Goodnight, Black Star Dude.
I don't remember how we started talking about Fire Emblem, honestly.
E3 stuff.
I brought it up.
Yeah. Oh, that's true.
Some rabbit hole somewhere we went down. I like legit thought that we were onto a new topic somehow. Like I'm going back looking through the topics. I'm like, I don't see a Fire Emblem topic here.
But I knew Fire Emblem being a major IP was a good topic.
Yeah. Definitely,
Yeah, we just inserted a new topic, but yeah, Sabbath, Kevin, yeah, they've been pretty quiet about Kirby. I mean, not Kirby, Yoshi. They should be quiet about Kirby. Yeah. It's out already. I saw someone make a point, but I was just trying to find it, but I missed it. I couldn't find it. Oh well. If you guys have any questions or anything you want to bring up, just put it again. I don't mind. But yeah, let's move on to, you know, the big one, or the big one for the night, right? Most powerful Nintendo characters. That we kind of touched on this last week, but it was such a fun topic. I felt like we could really like dig a little deeper into this. So, you know, I didn't even tell you guys to come up with a list or anything, but like, just like right off the bat, like, who do you think is the most powerful Nintendo character?
Oh, this is hard.
Or how about you suggest three? If you guys, just each of you, like, suggest a few potential Nintendo characters, and guys in the chat also do that as well. Like, what sort of potential, like, big Nintendo characters do you think are the potential Nintendo?
I'm sorry.
Which one's the most powerful?
Mario.
You think Mario is the most powerful?
Mario is incredibly powerful. Yes. Indeed.
I was gonna say he's one of the least powerful Nintendo characters.
How dare you? No, I'm just kidding.
Well,
he kind of jumps on enemies a lot. He just uses his fists and feet. He has power-ups, but they're not just like, you know, these crazy, amazing, gonna, you know, kill everybody in the universe power-ups.
Well, let's talk about feats, right? So, like, Mario has done, you know, he really punches well above his weight. He always fights Bowser, and Bowser is at least several times larger than him, and depending on the game, hundreds of times larger. Yes. 64,
so.
Right.
That's like, you gotta be pretty strong.
And actually, in Galaxy, Bowser's like galaxy size, like not really the size of a galaxy, but he's giant. He's ginormous, and Mario, at certain points, sort of handles him like a ragdoll. You know, like, so Mario, like, he punches well above his weight. Like, you know, we're talking about tons here. Like, this guy can thrash around something that's like tons. You know, okay, like, can you imagine someone, like a human, like, fighting something the size of Godzilla and winning? That's basically what happened in Super Mario Galaxy.
Yeah. Usually he doesn't need air at all. Space or underwater.
Right.
Like, he never needs air.
Actually, Kevin just brought up a very interesting point. Yes, we are including all the Pokemon. I do consider all of them Nintendo characters. And hello to you, Brandon Wright. So I don't know if you guys even considered Pokemon, but there's quite a few options. Like there's the god of Pokemon, Arceus or Arceus, depending on how you like to pronounce it. Like, he's literally the god of Pokemon. He's God.
That's got to be insanely powerful.
He's God. I think I saw like a stupid little movie on him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mario. There was this one point in like, I want to say Super Mario World where he effortlessly, like it was no sweat. Like he lifted a castle out of the ground and kicked it. Like I know a lot of people bring that up. Like it was nothing to him. He's shown nothing of like his full power, I think.
Wait, who?
That's crazy.
Mario.
He kicked the castle?
I literally named the name Super Mario World.
I just missed it.
It was Mario. So, yeah, Mario. He effortlessly picks up an entire castle, which he just explored, and kicks it like it's a piece of paper.
Would Monolith Soft characters count since they're owned by Nintendo?
Yes. If it's published by Nintendo, you can count it. Oh, well, that would include...
I think there'd be some freaking powerful people from those series.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess
Yeah.
if I say published, that can even include characters like from Wonderful 101 and the Bayonetta character, Bayonetta as well.
Yeah, but they don't own they're not second party.
If Nintendo owns the rights to the franchise,
Okay.
okay.
I'm
I
gonna
wouldn't
say
mind
Bayonetta.
including Bayonetta for the record, but I mean, if we want to create a rule, just if Nintendo owns the rights.
I mean,
Or some
Bayonetta's
of the
going
rights.
nowhere.
What?
Bayonetta's going nowhere. So
Yeah, she's not gonna. I don't think she competes with like the most powerful Nintendo characters.
it takes a pretty special character for Nintendo to like grow an attachment to you. So I don't know. I don't think she's going anywhere for a long time.
Yeah.
Hmm.
You mean like the IP itself? Okay.
Oh, you mean she's gonna stick with Nintendo?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
man.
thought
Yeah.
you meant like in power.
Right. Yeah.
Oh. Well,
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think she's gonna be sticking around. I don't mind including her, but I don't think she's even a part of this, sort of question though, because she's not that powerful from what I've seen compared to some other characters. Like,
Ooh.
I don't know, she looks pretty dang powerful.
Andres.
can she
Oh,
punch
boy.
away the moon like
Yes.
Donkey Kong? Like with her fist, can she punch
When
like?
did he punch away the moon? When did this happen?
Bayonetta has.
Oh, he punched a
headbutt
character to the moon. Actually, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thought you
a
meant
skyscraper
she destroyed a skyscraper.
with her head. Like
Her
like someone, like
She can summon
like one of
demons.
these. It's like a god threw a skyscraper at her, and the first thing she thought of was like, "Hey, maybe I should just headbutt it," and then she did it, and
The
it was
fuck is
nothing.
wrong with this person? She must be insanely powerful.
That's pretty powerful, actually. Yeah.
I'd say Rex is pretty dang powerful when he's with the final form of
Okay. Spoilers.
Huh?
Spoilers. Let's not say what it is, but basically,
yeah.
Rex gains a power that technically could incinerate the face of the earth.
Yeah. And he can move at the speed of light.
Yeah.
He's pretty damn
He can,
powerful.
or at least compete with the speed of light. Because I
Yeah.
think what they do is like see into the future and predict move. I have to go back and play the game, but like he's competing with someone who does move at the speed of light.
Yeah. And he moves
Yeah.
the same. He keeps up with his speed, so.
Yeah.
And
So-
he can see into the future, so he's actually technically he could be better than or have better movements than somebody who
Moves at the speed of light.
Yeah.
That's a great point. Yeah. Rex. I heard someone bring up Palutena, and I think Palutena is very strong, but we kind of touched on this last week. But
Yeah.
Will, you said that Pit beats Palutena when she's being possessed, right? So, maybe put Pit above him, and then Pit does compete with Hades and beats Hades. But here's the thing, how strong is Hades?
Well, he's literally based on the god
Hades,
so.
right. The god Hades, exactly. So,
I
but how
think-
strong is that god?
Not as powerful as Zeus.
Yeah.
Not
I
as
don't,
powerful.
is Zeus in that game? I don't know.
I don't think so.
I think, but I think we can make the
assume he
assumption though,
exists.
since everything's based off Greek mythology, that like if there's another Kid Icarus game and they're like, "Oh, Zeus is here," like no one's gonna be like, "Wait,
I would
what?"
be like, whoa, Zeus!
Right? Like no, it's like, "Oh yeah, of course, yeah, they can, they could include Zeus."
Oh, Zeus.
This makes no sense. There's never been Zeus before in a Greek mythology based
The
game.
fuck is this?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
A wild Zeus appeared.
Wow, this is like a Kid Icarus like Pokemon like crossover. That'd be super weird.
Oh no, that would be terrible.
Probably. Yeah.
I remember that one. What was it? Dynasty Warrior. That was terrible. that's not like it. It looked so bad. I don't know why it looked so bad to me. I don't know.
The Duosan brings up Ganon, and technically Link is stronger than Ganon, so
Is he?
he beats
Is he?
Ganon several times. Well, I guess he has help every time.
Well,
though,
here's the thing, though. He uses the Master Sword, and the Master Sword is built to seal the darkness, right? Like,
Yeah.
the Master Sword isn't even necessarily the strongest weapon in the game, but it just has the ability to seal darkness, right? So, like, if you just talk about power, like, maybe not. Like, for example, like, a Blastoise that's at level 90 will beat a Charizard that's at level 100 because of a weakness. Because Charizard's weak to water, but Charizard's still stronger, right? So maybe Ganon is still stronger than Link, but because Link gets the Master Sword, he has the power, you know, of Evil's Bane. Like, he can defeat Ganon because of the Master Sword.
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty true. I mean, when he fights him in Wind Waker, like, you know, spoilers to Wind Waker here, I guess, but like he tries to fight him when the Master Sword's not powered up, and he just gets instantly defeated.
He gets walloped,
like,
yeah.
Absolutely destroyed.
I think it's implied that he gets more skillful throughout his adventure, but at the same time, the difference is enormous, and basically the point is, like, you can't compete with him until you make the Master Sword strong, right?
Ganon is pretty freaking powerful, as I pointed out in my Smash Theory shameless plug that I made last week. He's pretty freaking powerful. And I mean, he does turn into this gigantic boar with a huge laser, even though he's super slow. Like, that thing is huge. That thing could probably, like, wreck a whole, like, oh my gosh, it would destroy life.
Yeah, but some other powerful characters are, like, for example, like Kevin Rivera brought up Mewtwo, right? Mewtwo is ridiculously strong. It's one of the strongest Pokemon. But since we're going back to Pokemon, there are other Pokemon that are really strong. Like, there's Arceus, right, who's just the god of Pokemon. But there's also Pokemon that had to do with the creation of the world. Like, there is Groudon, who basically created the Earth, right? And then there's Dialga's another thing. But there's Kyogre, which created the waters, right? So you have Pokemon that are about basically the source of creation myths. Like, and then you also have Palkia and Dialga, which each can control. Well, Palkia controls space, while Dialga controls time. So there are some ridiculously strong Pokemon, you know?
Yeah.
Sabbath actually mentioned Mr. Game & Watch, which I also think is ridiculous, because think about this for a second, okay? Just think about this for a second. Mr. Game & Watch is a two-dimensional creature. 2 dimensions, right? He literally lives in 2 dimensions. Yet in Smash Brothers, he's competing with things that are 3-dimensional. Like, that's quite a feat if you ask me. Like, he can beat 3-dimensional creatures, and he's in 2 dimensions. I think that's punching well above your weight.
Perhaps.
But at the same time,
that hot bacon though just burns your face right off.
Yeah, he can cook bacon instantly. He cooks bacon immediately. Like, it just comes out of nowhere. It comes out of.
It's like that 90-second water boiling stovetops.
He creates matter from nothing.
I'd say that Mr. Gay Man Watch, and yes, I did call him Gay Man Watch, has control over the fabric of the gaming reality.
Physics,
to an extent.
Side B, bro. 9 instant kill.
Oh,
Actually, you can technically survive that, right? But you need to, like, be rebounded off, like, multiple things or something, like. But yeah, I think
Rosalina. Vegeta has Rosalina is extremely powerful. I think he put Kirby in front of her. Well, Rosalina's stronger.
Well, Kirby's done some crazy things too. I was trying to figure it out. Like, if any of you guys can think of, like, the feats that Kirby's accomplished, put them in the chat. Like, but I've heard of Kirby doing some insane things, like, on a global scale. But Rosalina.
What has Rosalina done though? I don't remember.
Rosalina can reset the entire multiverse.
She's basically Whis.
Yeah.
Actually, she might be more powerful than Whis.
No,
and
she's
Whis,
Grand Priest.
right? Like, so for guys who didn't watch Dragon Ball Super, right? Like, so basically, okay, Whis is the teacher of a god of destruction, and the god of destruction's job is to basically destroy worlds. Like, Beerus can destroy the universe if he wanted to, right? Like, that's how strong he is. Whis is stronger than him, and Rosalina's powers seem to suggest she's on a level comparable to an angel that may even be stronger than Whis. Of course, different universes here, so, you know, but just for some perspective, like, she has the ability to reset a universe, like you said, Will. Like, that's a pretty ridiculous power. Now, this is gonna be hard to come up to, like, a conclusion.
All of, like her star bit friends, whatever they are. They're not star bits, but they eat star bits. What are they?
I'll have to double check, but I do think she does get assistance.
Lumas.
Yeah, the Lumas.
She needs the Lumas, right? She needs like a bunch of Lumas to reset the universe.
But then let's ask that question: does that make her weaker? right? Like for example,
Without a bajillion Lumas, I guess.
what about Aquaman? Like one of Aquaman's great strengths is that he can do great things by communicating with animals. So do we consider Aquaman not that strong because of that?
By himself, I guess. Yeah. I don't know. Like he can still do things though. Like
compared to like a regular person. Yeah.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
He's still ridiculous, yeah. But you know, like for example, like is not Poseidon, but like Aquaman as strong as say the Flash? Although
But
the
I
Flash,
don't consider like Pokemon Trainer to be strong, even though they control these amazing Pokemon.
well, which is why we talk about the individual Pokemon, not the trainer,
Yeah.
right?
Which is kind of like the same thing as like Aquaman. It's like I don't like you don't consider the Pokemon Trainer to be powerful.
But actually, that's an interesting point, though. Well, in my head, it's an interesting point because, like Pokemon, right? Even though some of them are like gods, right? They can be caught. They can still be caught and basically enslaved by a 10-year-old boy, right? And just do their bidding. So you know that's quite a weakness. Like even if you are a god, that is quite a weakness. You know what I mean? So then, even though some of these Pokemon are god level, literally, they have a weakness that leads them to be completely dominated by a 10-year-old child.
That's a huge weakness.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
They
Cappy's
can
pretty
stun,
strong.
they can be burnt. They can be like all ailments can affect them. So.
Oh, Mega Rayquaza. I think Mega Rayquaza actually might be the strongest Pokemon, like in terms of raw power. Like I'm actually gonna look up, just double check this. Like Vooper is saying Mega Rayquaza, like because Pokemon have base stats, right? So like you can actually quantify their like straight up power level based off their base stats. You know,
Cappy is very limited. Cappy can control the T-Rex for like barely 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So it's like,
There-
oh, I can't.
Cappy. Yeah, Cappy's powerful, but not the kind of power. Not to the level we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I think I still think maybe it's because I like them so much, but I think Rex and Shulk are some of them, like two of you know, they're up there for some of the most powerful Nintendo characters. Because I mean, like they literally stop people who are destroying the entirety of like the universe. Sometimes, like they're taking out the entire world, or they're like threatening the entire universe. And they're just like, they're just gonna destroy you now.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't find like an up to date list, but I think it actually might be Mega Rayquaza because hold on, let me double check because Arceus is at 720, which is the highest, but Mega Rayquaza might be different. Let's see. Come on, Bulbapedia, load. I like use Bulbapedia to like look up every like piece of like Pokemon information. Like for those of you who don't, yeah, for some of you may be playing Pokemon really soon with Pokemon Switch. Like if you want to get information on a new Pokemon, check out Bulbapedia. You'll get their stats, their information, their story, their weaknesses, their movesets.
Bulbapedia?
Bulbapedia, yes.
Okay. I thought you were saying Bulkapedia for a second. I was
No,
like,
no,
what?
sorry. Bulbapedia. Yeah,
Okay.
Mega Rayquaza is the strongest Pokemon. It's literally 780.
What about Ness from Earthbound? Pretty powerful.
Maybe. Like, he's not as strong as like Mega Rayquaza, right? Which is stronger than God. You know, like,
Yeah,
Rosalie can beat him.
Rosalie is pretty amazing.
yeah, she's pretty amazing too. Like, she arguably stronger than an angel, which is stronger than a god of destruction. You know, yeah.
I don't think those two can be compared, but yeah.
Right, you're right. I shouldn't make that comparison. But she can reset the universe, like you said. Like that's pretty ridiculous. You know, that I would put that at God level. You know, so then I guess that with characters like that, you have to kind of put maybe like Donkey Kong and Mario below them, right? Because Donkey Kong has shown incredible abilities. Like he literally punch the final boss like to the moon. You know, which is amazing. But compared to the ability to reset the universe, you know, that's kind of small scale compared to resetting the universe, right? And then you have gods, you know, that are ridiculous, and then there's a Pokemon that's even stronger than that. So that's also kind of crazy. But at the same time, though, how strong are those gods?
Right.
How strong are they really?
Shulk beats Klaus, which created the universe.
Or did he just create the world?
No, he created the entire universe. With well, this is major spoilers. I won't go into that, but essentially he creates the entire universe. And then he is the god over that universe. And he mostly resides in the world, but he makes a whole separate like dimension universe, like that's completely separate, which is why you know what I'm talking about, since you know, but I won't spoil it because it's massive spoilers. I'm trying to skirt around.
Well,
here.
actually, so I've seen some points. Vooper said maybe, you know, no, it's Reggie, right? And Vegeta-san is saying, he's saying that the Pokemon trainers are the strongest characters because they control Pokemon, right? Or at least to what I was saying. So then, here's an idea, right? Like, it just, both of these things are kind of leading me down this, like, train of thought. Like, so Pokemon are controlled by trainers. So then, does that make trainers stronger? Kinda, but they also have, they're weak themselves. Like, they have weaknesses, the same way Pokemon have weaknesses. But then I start thinking about Reggie and the control that Reggie has over a lot of Nintendo characters. And then who has even more power than Reggie in terms of controlling Nintendo characters?
Tatsumi Kimishima.
Kimishima, exactly.
But he's not a
He's the most powerful Nintendo character.
He
has more being.
But actually, maybe Shigeru Miyamoto has more power, right? Like, even though his title is sort of worse, like, if Nintendo loses Tatsumi Kimishima, they'll live. If they lose Shigeru Miyamoto, it'll have a worse impact, you know?
Some people don't agree.
Highly debatable.
Maybe back in his heyday.
Yeah.
He's kind of stepped back already.
He's kind of like Yoda. You think he doesn't know what he's doing, but he kind of does. But there are some blips on the radar. There are some things.
Sometimes Star Fox Zero happens though.
Well, here's the thing though.
No, man.
Here's the thing though. Like, you could say Star Fox Zero is like an example for why Shigeru Miyamoto isn't as good as he once was. But what if he never wanted it to be good?
I don't think part of that wasn't his fault. They gave him like the lowest budget in the history of the universe and barely even let him make a Star Fox game.
Right,
so,
like, just because LeBron James loses doesn't mean he's not the best player in the NBA, right? It's a team game. Creating video games is a team project. So sometimes the team that comes together, the resources you have aren't enough. So
I don't think he's bad. I just don't like, he literally does nothing there anymore.
Sometimes though, you end up with a sticker star and a Star Fox Zero. But sometimes you end up with just these amazing Nintendo games you cherish for the rest of your life.
Well, so you guys remember the Metroid video I made on Friday where I talked about sort of like a little bit of like the history of like the development for Metroid? Like, so I'm not sure if I mentioned it, but Metroid Prime, right, wasn't going to exist until Shigeru Miyamoto visited Retro Studios in the year 2000 and told them to turn what they were working on into a Metroid game. And he also told them to make it first person. And Metroid Prime is literally one of the highest rated games of all time. And all he did was come in and be like, hey, this is, guys, what you should do. And they ended up, like, should he take all the credit? No. But he should take some credit. Like, he did that. Like, he made he helped resurrect the Metroid series with the Prime series and created one of the most critically acclaimed series of all time. So, you know, that's just an example of the power of Shigeru Miyamoto.
Nah. He doesn't do anything. Like, what is he, like, Pikmin 4, they haven't even released that. Like, he does, and, like, if he does do something, it never really turns out. So either he isn't doing something right or Nintendo isn't treating him. Like, if he left, I doubt that it would have that huge of it. Like, he is an icon.
Yeah,
like,
nowadays, I don't think he does as much.
Right. The Mario team is led by Koizumi. The Zelda team is led by Aonum. Like, he literally does nothing there.
But he did kind of, like, tutor those guys, though, you know? So, like...
Yeah, I'm not saying he's bad.
But maybe they surpassed the master.
As he used to.
I
think he just doesn't... I think he wants to make more unique experiences that a lot of people don't agree with nowadays. I think he's kind of tired of making the status quo, so he's trying to go outside of the box. But sometimes he goes too far outside the box, which is a problem. I think he still had, like, if he sat down and, you know, somebody told him, hey, you know, make a game, like, make a Paper Mario game, make it like make it like Thousand Year Door, do this. He'd be like, oh, and then he'd make a masterpiece, you know. But he doesn't really want to do that. Is the problem? Like, he's still fully capable. He just does. That's not what he wants to do.
Yeah, I think he's like entirely. I think Nintendo is scared to say like, "Oh, you sort of helped us like turn this company into like a freaking multi-billion-dollar thing," but we gotta tell you, we gotta clamp down on you. We gotta like take it down a notch and like make you like not the 12th richest man in Japan or anything like that anymore. Sorry, man. Like I think they kind of just let him do what he wants.
Yeah,
and that's why, like Brandon said, Star Fox Zero exists and Sticker Star exists and other stuff.
What if Shigeru Miyamoto still hasn't done like, you know, his last hurrah? Like what if he still hasn't done like his final like big project? You know what I mean? Like what if he still has one more
transform
like
to his final form, his
like
final smash.
his, you know, like his final hoorah? Like what could his swan? I don't want to say swan song because that could imply he dies. I don't want to, you know, God forbid.
Don't die, man.
Oh, live a long, healthy life, please. But
65.
He's 65.
Yeah, he's not that old.
Oh, that's old. 65.
It's all relative,
you guys
right?
sound like so young right now. Oh, 65. Oh.
65.
Not that old.
65 is pretty old, but 65 is still in this day and age with the understanding we have of health, like 20 plus. Jesus, that I would.
You could ease. I mean, people live to be
I'm not
80,
talking.
90,
I'm not talking about him dying. I'm
sometimes.
talking about him retiring.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm saying he's not that old to. He's not gonna die.
I think retiring at 85 would actually be pretty crazy.
That'd be insane. I think he's probably gonna retire pretty soon. I think he's already talked about wanting to retire pretty soon, actually. So I imagine whatever game he's working on right now may end up being the last one.
I mean, he's basically retired. He's living the life, honestly. All he has to do is like watch over what other people do. Right. That's literally kind of what he does.
Are you completely destroying everything Nintendo stands for? Nope. Okay, good.
Yeah. So then
you're making an M-rated Mario game? Nope. Okay.
Let's maybe pull it back to the game characters. So I mean, Reggie is pretty crazy, right? Tatsuki Kimishima has a lot of control. And then Shigeru Miyamoto is a legend, but he has, you know, he's slowed down. He's getting old. So there's that. But if we sort of, can we consider Reggie a Nintendo character? Like he kinda is in Smash Brothers because he's like a Mii kinda, right? And then him and Iwata are both in like literal trailers for Smash Brothers, which is interesting. But if we take away like literal humans, like humans can't be considered a part of this equation, then we'll go back to Nintendo characters, right? And we talked about Arceus, but Mega Rayquaza is stronger than Arceus in terms of base stats, right? So then even though Arceus should we say Arceus or Arceus? Because I've seen people say it both ways, and I don't watch the Pokemon movies.
Arceus sounds cooler.
Okay.
Yeah.
The god of Pokemon, right? Like, is strong, but how strong are they actually? Like, how much control do they have beyond the space of Earth, right? And then there's Rosalina, who has literal control over the universe, which is pretty crazy, or at least multiple galaxies. That's pretty insane. And I've heard Kirby brought up before, because Kirby seems like almost damn near indestructible sometimes, and he can suck up so many things, and he can shoot out stars. Like, he's pretty powerful too. But I know I've heard some crazy feats from him, but I can't think from what. And I've been trying to think about this entire time. I can't remember from what. So if anyone knows of any crazy feats,
the god of just Pokemon or like that entire world? Because I think I'm getting like a little discombobulated. Like I don't know. You say that like he's the god of Pokemon, but like that's all you said. So is he like, just clear that up?
Okay. Well, think of it. I don't know how well they explain. I would have to like go back and do some research, right? But think of it like this, okay? Groudon and Kyogre created the earth and the waters, right? Palkia and Dialga control space and time. Arceus is above them.
So he's the god of like everything in that like
that
world,
realm.
right?
Yeah, the Pokemon universe, I guess. Yeah.
Okay.
But even then, like, he's shown to not necessarily to be almighty and all powerful. So, you know, if you watch different movies, like, he can be harmed. Like, he's not like Christian God powerful, you know.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
there's that.
Yeah. If a bug created the world, it would still be a bug. So you could just step on it, and it's done. So yeah.
Unique is saying Kirby is the strongest. Vegeta agrees. He's saying that Kirby is the Majin Buu with godlike powers. Samus is saying Masahiro Sakurai, but technically he's a person, which he has some power for sure. He would also be in competition with Kimishima, Reggie, and Miyamoto. Alfonso saying the Giratina, which can like go through dimensions. I think it's pretty crazy as well.
Kirby is not more powerful than Rosalina. That's just the end of it, man.
I just need I need examples of feats. Like, what has Kirby done? Because I've heard some crazy stuff, but I can't think of anything specifically. I just haven't.
His mouth is a vortex to
It's like a black
of his
hole.
body is another dimension. No, it's not a black hole. It's just another dimension, and he just saves everything. That's impressive, but he would
Now
like that,
I know.
he would have to get really close to the person. Like, who in their right mind will let Kirby get that close to them?
And Kirby also loses when you play Kirby. Like, a few hits and he's done. Right. So like you can talk about his strengths, but he has weaknesses. Exactly. So then
if he gets the power, one good hit, it's over for him.
Right. But, you know, if we talk about it like that, Rosalina is in Smash Brothers, right? And she can be beaten. So if you talk about it like in terms of Smash Brothers, every character in Smash Brothers can be beaten. You know?
We're not talking about Smash is non-canon.
So we don't want to count Smash as a part of the equation at all.
No. Okay. Palutena is a goddess, and she loses in Smash. That just I don't know.
Right. Well, I don't know if we could actually come to a conclusion. I think we could just talk about some crazy characters. What about Captain Falcon? I know he's not actually the strongest, but he's done some. His Falcon Punch is quite deadly. His Falcon Punch is just epic. You know.
Yeah, he's pretty powerful. I'd say he's the most powerful, though. Or even competing for that.
No. He's got one move that makes him special, so...
Right, so just final picks right now, because I want to call it a night. And guys in the chat, if you want to put some final picks, let me know. I'm literally closing this discussion out in like 2 to 3 minutes.
Okay. I'd say final picks for me, probably Arceus, Palutena, and either Rex or Shulk. Those are my top 3.
Say, Mario, Rosalina, and
I meant Rosalina, not Palutena.
Mario, Rosalina, and I'll go and put Link on there. I don't know. He's like the perfect warrior.
He's pretty powerful.
Yeah. Bottom of his list.
Okay, I mean, I think it's an interesting pick. So I'm gonna go with I think Rosalina is pretty strong, but Rosalina still needs help from Mario. So then that kind of like weakens her a little bit for me, right?
Yeah, I mean, if she really was that strong, why didn't she just go beat Bowser herself?
Pit with his his special like godly royal armor, I think is definitely ridiculously strong.
Yeah.
I like Mega Rayquaza. And I like Arceus because they're,
Pit needs help with his armor,
level.
too. He had to go hunting for that armor. That armor is really old as well. It can be broken. So.
And I guess, the thing is that every character sort of has weaknesses, right? Like, Vegeta is saying, like, Rosalina is more of a creator, not a destroyer. She's not really a fighter, which is true, right? So, like, even though she has amazing feats, she's not really a fighter. So that's also a good point, which is why maybe she needs Mario.
He has terrible stamina.
Yeah.
And he can't fly.
And he can't really fly. True, so he has some serious weaknesses. I like Zelda. Breath of the Wild Zelda's pretty ridiculous. Like, she has amazing offensive power.
She's not much of a fighter either.
She's not much
of a fighter either. She also has the entirety of the Triforce at the time. So
she's not much of a fighter either, though. If we're taking Vegeta's comment to heart, she's not much of a fighter.
You know who is much of a fighter? the Master Hand.
Master Hand's pretty dang powerful, but I
Master
beat him
Hand
all the
is-
time.
You need yes, but usually you need many stocks, and sometimes the Master Hand uses both of his hands, and he uses both of his hands.
crazy hand, bro.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yo, but if you play very difficult, come on, you need two hands, right? Then there's also Taboo. So maybe the hardest, the most powerful Nintendo character is the boss that is at the highest difficulty, or the person that's controlling Taboo or the Master Hand, right? Like that's the person who's the strongest. Which, arguably, like if you talk about Master Hand, that could be us, right? Like the player. The player is the most powerful character.
I forgot. Vegeta-san brings up that Zelda is actually a goddess in Skyward Sword.
She is.
She is a goddess.
Well, every Zelda
she's not
is
that
like is a reincarnation of a goddess. So
yeah.
technically, the goddess is Hylia.
Yeah.
She's limited by her mortal body.
Right.
And
Yeah.
even when she was in her full goddess form, she wasn't that. I mean, she almost got completely defeated by Demise. Like she like held out as long as she could, transferred her body into something, that inconspicuous so that they couldn't find her, and then threw everyone up in the sky where they couldn't get touched.
Yeah.
You know,
I guess
like she pretty much failed.
I guess the argument for Zelda is like pretty much the same argument for maybe both Palutena and Rosalina. They're all extremely powerful. They've shown amazing feats, but most of their feats are more about supporting and creating rather than fighting and destroying.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. But then have we made that distinguishment? Are we talking about just raw offensive power? Then I guess we can take them out of the equation. So then raw offensive power, and let's not talk about the player because I feel like that's a cop-out, right? And let's not talk about Reggie or Shigeru or Kimishima because that's also kind of like a cop-out, like just hard, like most powerful character. Man. Captain Falcon. He has a Falcon punch.
Mine are pretty much the same.
Are we talking about like max potential, like, or are we taking into consideration like their potential? Because like we kept nitpicking Zelda, like she or some other character, like they aren't really a fight. Like, are we taking that into consideration, or are we just talking about maximum potential?
I feel like let's try to decide it from the perspective of them being the best fighter. Is that can we agree on doing that? Because if we talk about like feats, like, or do you want to take it in a different direction? How would you want to do it? I'm just trying to come to a conclusion. The
best fighter. Okay, go ahead.
Do we want to go that route or no?
Okay.
Oh no, go ahead. I'm kind of like you. I know in the back of your head you really want to close this out, and I do too. So
yeah, that's the thing. Like, because there's different arguments, right?
Yeah, there's not really anything. You're not going to get conclusive.
Right, we can't really come with a conclusion. We can't, because there are so many crazy Nintendo characters. Depending how you look at it, right, there's different angles. Like, there's a person angle where Tatsuya Kimishima has rule over all Nintendo IP to a certain extent, right? There's Shigeru Miyamoto, who created a whole bunch of them, right? There's Reggie, who's a boss. There is literally you as the player, because you play as Nintendo characters.
I think Little Mac is a better fighter than Captain Falcon, yeah. I think Little Mac would wreck Captain Falcon.
Well, he has better technique, but Captain Falcon has the raw power of the Falcon Punch.
But I still think Little Mac is a better fighter.
Okay.
Like, Batman can beat Superman because he is a better fighter. It doesn't matter about
power. Man, you know what? Actually, Vegeta-san made a great point.
Punches and deliver punches back, I'm going to win. I'm going to win if you can't hit me.
Vegeta-san made an amazing point though. In the end, Ganon is the strongest because even if he is defeated, he resurrects again and again.
He needs help.
But then again, Link is also the strongest because he
also
comes back
again and again. And actually, every Nintendo character has the ability to respawn. There's always another playthrough. So.
Yeah, but even beyond that, like let's not consider that point. But like this is
then you get meta.
Those are canon deaths. Those deaths aren't canon.
Needs help, doesn't he? Like he's like, well, Link, you have to die first before you resurrect him, or you have to do this before he is resurrected. Like it's like he doesn't choose when he. Like you make him sound like an all-powerful god. That's like, oh yes, I can resurrect anytime I want and waste you. No, he needs help. Like he needs serious help.
Or at least a really long time to recover. and come back.
I'm gonna go for my version of the conclusive pick. And sorry, what you were saying, Will, is that like it all kind of it also depends on like technique, like how Batman defeats Superman, even because Batman is just a better fighter. Like I think Rex would probably be the most powerful or the best. He would win. He would win in a fight against any Nintendo character. He would win because he's as fast as light. He can see in the future,
but with the help of Pyra and Mithra.
Yeah, but you're assuming that they're in the equation because they're pretty.
Is he stronger than Shulk?
At this point, they're a part of him. I'd say he's stronger than Shulk. He's much faster than Shulk. Shulk can see in the future like he can, but he's way faster than Shulk is. And he has more raw power than Shulk as well. I'd say he's much more powerful than Shulk.
I can't do this. I can't come up with a conclusion.
So for my conclusion, I'm gonna say Rex is the most powerful Nintendo character. At least he'd beat any Nintendo character in a fight, in my opinion.
Okay. Well, do you have a conclusion? Because I think my conclusion is that there is no conclusion.
I'd say, I think Link. I think Link is like literally the perfect warrior. I don't know why. Like I don't think he's ever canonically lost a fight.
The downfall time.
The downfall timeline is because he died.
That's like a potential. No, but that's like a potential outcome. The child timeline is like what actually happened if I'm not mistaken.
I mean, it's like confusing because there's like they all happened canonically.
They all happened
at the same time.
They're all canon. All three are canon.
Not really. It's more like a
multiverse kind of thing.
Well, I mean, you could think of it as each one happens.
Destroyed the space-time continuum and 3 separate.
If you want to say that the Link in a particular timeline is more powerful, then okay, maybe.
I think Link is the perfect warrior. Throw him against anything, he always has the items to beat it. Okay. Done.
Link also gets wrecked in Breath of the Wild, though, and Zelda is the one that deals the finishing blow.
Throw Link against anyone, he has the strategy to beat him. Done. Do you have anything? Or can we end this?
All right. My conclusion is that I'm sorry, guys. I can't give you. I could lie to you guys, but in my head, there's no answer. That's just the truth for me. There is no answer. I think it depends on the situation. There are so many strengths and weaknesses. There's so many different angles to look at it. There's just a ridiculous amount of crazy powerful Nintendo characters. And as we're talking about it, like it's almost like we're talking about like the Marvel universe, right? Or the Dragon Ball universe, where they're like on a global or universal or multi-universal scale. Like that's what some of these Nintendo characters are at certain points. And that's insane. And then there are sometimes, even though they can do that, they also have incredible weaknesses, like they can just be caught by a Pokeball, or they don't really know how to fight at all, right? So I have no conclusion, guys. But yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you guys enjoyed the discussion. If you have any suggestions for next week, put them in the comments below, or message me, or on Discord or Twitter. And you can check out both Brandon and Will at their channels. The links are in the description below. And yeah, again, thank you so much for watching, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Peace.
I bid you all farewell for now.